Are you ready for an extreme makeover of the mind? With the producer and host of a Better You podcast, the transformational coach whose assignment is to challenge people to change, grow, and evolve into the individuals they were created to be. Here is Dr. Anthony McFarland, providing you with practical tools and wisdom for everyday life challenges for you to win in life, relationships, and finances.
Hey guys, welcome to ABU. I am Anthony McFarland. It's always a blessing to be with you. I'm excited about this podcast today because I am going to continue the conversation on relationships. Talked about over the past 2 episodes. Hey guys, Anthony McFarland. It is a blessing to be with you again this week. Listen, I want to talk to you about red flags that may be missing in your relationship. I received a very interesting email from another coach. Her name was Lisa. And, she said, hello, Anthony, I have a confession to make. And she said, I have dysfunctions. Other people I know have dysfunctions. Alive humans have dysfunctions. And I thought that was so good. And she went on to say how it shouldn't be breaking news to you that dysfunction exists within mankind, in essence. I thought it was a great way to open a conversation, specifically over an email. And she stated how what gets concerning is when we've danced around dysfunction in relationships within the family construct for so long that unfortunately we've become accustomed to it. In other words, it becomes like this way of life. It becomes the norm. We're confronted with behaviors that make us feel uneasy, confused, or even unsafe in some respects, but we feel powerless to make changes. And so deep down, we often wonder, is this normal? Is this normal? Is every family like this? Is every relationship hard? And maybe you feel like something is off, but you don't know why. And so there lies the question, how do we really confront that? Is this something to be concerned about? Or maybe you're just overacting to a behavior, something that happened within your relationship, again, within your family construct, your relationships. And so, I personally understand how challenging it is to be in that place. Been there before, done that, bought the t-shirt, rode the ride. But here's what she went on to say. She said she's like been on this journey of learning, right? Which I would like to say, I would like to think we all are. And if you're not, you should be. And truth is, all relationships can be difficult at times, but they should not be destructive to our well-being, spiritual or mental well-being. As image bearers of God, which we see in Genesis 1:26, we must honor what God honors. And in doing so, we must not confuse the good commands to love and forgive with the bad realities of enabling and covering up things that are not honoring to God, nor honors us, honors the relationships that we're in. In fact, when you turn to 1 Corinthians 13 and read 4-7, I'm reminded of God's intention for the purest form of love and the types of relationships that we are worthy of cultivating. And here's what some of the things that she journaled that I thought were great points that refer to 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. And the first point was how love is not dishonorable. Think about that. When you love somebody, you don't get in a relationship to dishonor them, to disrespect them. And then love does not justify wrongs to enable selfishness or self-centeredness. Love never celebrates evil. Why? Because there is no evil in love. Love requires truth. So when we really look at the points that God makes available to us in scripture when it comes to love and honor, loving someone, love always leads to honor. Love always leads to not only honor, but respect, kindness, compassion. Love calls wrong things wrong and hurtful things hurtful. And just because we call something wrong or someone's behavior unacceptable, it doesn't mean that we don't love them. It's because we love them that we're willing to point out toxic behaviors. So not only is it okay for us to identify concerning behaviors and harmful actions against us, it's biblical. It's not unchristian to require people to treat us in healthy ways. I don't care if that's a marriage, if it's somebody you're dating, brother and sister, sister and sister, brother and brother, aunt, uncle, child, parent, parent, child. Listen to me. Anyone who is aligned with God should want to treat other people right. So when you start to think about this, you have to learn that it's okay to not be okay with dysfunctional behaviors. So here are a few red flags and questions that I'd like for you to consider when it comes to dysfunctional behavior within a relationship. And you have to ask yourself first, is this a mistake or an ongoing pattern of behavior that this person has displayed? And then the second question that you have to ask yourself is, how often is this happening? Is it happening every now and then? Is it happening here and there? Is it happening once a week? Is it happening every day? And then if so, the third question that you need to ask yourself and be honest, and that is, how severe is this? And so that's why these questions matter. What we're looking for are patterns of hurtful and harmful behavior when we're addressing the topic of dysfunction. See, a hurtful statement can be called a mistake, but a repeated pattern of hurtful statements or uncaring attitudes or even unjust expectations is much more than a mistake. These patterns are misuses of the purposes of a relationship. See, one of the things that I learned years ago from one of my mentors who's transitioned to be with the Lord, and that is, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. But when purpose is known, there's success in the life of that person. There's success in the life of that relationship. So why is this so critical to understand? Because unchecked misuse of a relationship can quickly turn into abuse in a relationship, if not be detrimental. So some of the red flags you may be missing in your relationship is, one, when a person resists to have conversation with you. In other words, they resist needed conversations or turn the situation around on you. For example, when you bring up a topic that needs to be addressed, their denial of the issues at hand and the surrounding facts leaves you feeling like you're the crazy one. And you're like, I know I'm not crazy. They're the one that was tripping. They're the one that was off. That was crazy what they just did. And because now that I want to have a conversation about it, I want to confront it, they turn around and make me look like I'm the one that's tripping. Or how about this? Again, red flags. They go back to unhealthy coping mechanisms when they've had a bad day or, experienced a bad moment or a hard conversation with you. What is that? Or another red flag is they lack self-awareness. And I found that to be true with a lot of people. They're not aware of themselves. They're not aware of their conduct. They're not aware of their behavior. And then some people are emotionally tone deaf. They are unable to understand how people perceive them. And individuals that are driven by their ego or have narcissistic traits and patterns, they really don't care how people perceive them. And when we're talking about someone you love, you should care how that person perceives you. You really should. So another red flag is they have an out of proportion reaction to a conversation or the situation that you're trying to deal with in the moment. In other words, they just wild out. They hit the ceiling. They blow up. Now, while we're going through these red flags, I don't want you just to think about someone else and their behavior, their dysfunction. I want you to think about yourself. I have been there before where I found myself like kind of blowing up because it's like, this is always an issue. And why is this always an issue based on, a flawed perception of a situation, circumstance, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's like trying to get over somebody else's something and their personal issues and inadvertently, you just kind of get tired of dealing with their issues and why we got to keep dealing with the same old thing. And then you make excuse for your flawed behavior. You didn't see that one coming, did you? So another red flag is they don't recognize the inappropriateness of their facial expressions, tone of voice, or timing in bringing up certain things. I mean, there's some people who are just terrible at timing. I mean, their timing is just totally off. Like, right? Did you say that in this moment? That was crazy, right? Why did you make that face when they said that? Well, it was just how I felt. No, there's some expressions, tones, listen to me, that you need to keep under. And then there's individuals, again, red flags. They tend not to own any part of the conflict. Always saying, but you, in response. But you. Again, blame shifting. If you wouldn't have did this, I wouldn't have did that. Have you ever been there? I've been there before. See, this is a part of the process of change, how you confront things, get honest with yourself so that you can change and evolve and become a better person. That's what ABU is all about. Everyone who wants to change, who wants to be better, do better, can, if they're open to do the work. And my question for you today, are you open to do the work? We can question whether or not somebody else is open to do the work, but are you willing to do the work? First, you have to be willing to see yourself, be honest with yourself and say, you know what, self, we have some work to do because I can see my own red flags. And then more times than not, a person will lack empathy in situations and don't consider how their choices will affect the other person, the other party in the relationship. And then in a lot of situations, there's these red flags where the person, they're just unwilling to honor or respect any communicated boundaries that you have. At the same time, I think it's important that you understand that if you're not living by certain boundaries, Why do you expect for someone else to respect your boundaries? What am I saying? Boundaries are for you, they're not for other people. And then when other people come into your yard, come into your house, come into your presence, that's when they learn what your boundaries are, what your values and your standards and your boundaries are for how you do life. I told someone once, I said, listen to me, I love you, but I will not accept disrespect. I don't disrespect people, and I do not tolerate people disrespecting me. So I'm always going to respect you, and I expect for you to respect me. So I listen to me. The seed that I sow, I expect to reap. So I believe that respect must be your seed before it becomes your harvest in any relationship. Honor must become your seed before it becomes your harvest. Many people want other people to respect them, honor them, but they're not respectful or honorable themselves. I hope this is making sense. And then here's a big red flag. They just don't take responsibility for themselves or their actions and expect you to pick up the pieces after they've broken something, after they've shattered. Watch this, wreck the whole house, wreck the whole vibe. Okay, you deal with it, you handle it. No, 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 no. And then here's another red flag. They refuse to acknowledge how unhealed trauma from their past, possibly even their childhood, needs to be worked out so it's not acted out. See, many people are acting out things in their adulthood that have gone unaddressed in their formative years, in their childhood. Sometimes you could have had a good childhood, but then you become a teenager or young adult and you get in a toxic relationship because you don't know how to control your flesh, your desires, the lust of your flesh. So now you open up the door to the devil. You open up the door, watch this, to, the devil in the red dress, the devil in the blue suit. You follow what I'm saying? So, one of the things that's so important is that you're able to identify dysfunctional behaviors and patterns and be able to understand the difference between a mistake and an ongoing repeated behavior. So, some of those behaviors that actually cause challenges within a relationship, that can also be a red flag. And I'll leave you on this one. People who bring things into your environment, right? Your life, your home, that make you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, or threatened. It could be drinking, it could be smoking, using offensive language, or listening to or watching inappropriate music or movies. I've dealt with some of that with, my grandkids. They're like, nope, we don't listen to that. We're not doing that. To the other extreme with some of your friendships, again, relationships, it could be gossiping, judging. It's tough for me to be around somebody that's just always judging, so critical of other people, or being overly aggressive about someone's political, social, or religious views, or, just being very extreme. Everybody has a right to their view. So if you follow me in this list and you experiencing any of these behaviors in a relationship in your life, this is your opportunity to do three things, especially if you're the individual that is showing dysfunctional behaviors. This part requires humility. Number one, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm sorry. Number two, when you've been very combative with another person and they're trying to express their feelings and how you make them feel, you know what? I want to come back and say, not only I'm sorry, but I believe you. You're not crazy. Three, you're not crazy. And I'm owning my stuff. I'm owning my stuff. I choose not to lie to myself nor you. any longer. I have to own my stuff because I know that I can do better. I can be better. There can be a better me. And I'm telling you, my friend, if there's a better me and there's a better you, there's a better us. Think about that in your marriage, in your relationships, whether you're dating, again, within the family construct. If everybody just said, hey, there's a better me, I'm working on being a better me, and you're working on being a better you, then guess what? There can be a better us. Isn't that awesome? And I know for some people, you can be feeling kind of overwhelmed in your relationships. And I understand that. But just process what I just shared with you, and don't be afraid to face and address the things that you need to address and face, so that you're no longer dealing with dysfunctional behaviors that erode your relationship, that destroys your spirit, man. When you think about a healthy relationship and what it looks like, healthy relationships involve honesty, trust, respect, and open communication between partners. And they take effort and compromise from both sides, from both people. There's no imbalance of power when you think about a healthy relationship. Partners respect each other's views, sensitive to their feelings. You're allowing the other person to make decisions without fear of retribution or retaliation, and share in decision making. Okay, with that being said, this concludes the red flags in relationship episode. But I'll leave you with these 5 characteristics of a healthy relationship. 1, there's respect for privacy and space. You don't have to be with your partner 24/7. 2, your partner encourages you to spend time with friends and family without them, and to be able to participate in activities that you enjoy. It doesn't always have to be what they want to do. And then again, you feel comfortable expressing your opinions and concerns to your partner, but you're not, at the same time, you're not always accusing and judging and belittling your partner. Again, characteristics of a healthy relationship. You feel physically safe, and your partner doesn't force you to have sex or do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. And then here's the last one. Your partner respects your wishes and feelings, and you can compromise and negotiate when there's a disagreement or a conflict that arises. Why? Because you both want there to be a righteous resolve. I want things to be good for you, and you want things to be good for me, so we can come together and reason and resolve challenges together as a loving, gracious couple or family. That's it. That's all. I hope you got a lot out of this podcast. Leave me a note, share the broadcast with somebody else, this episode with somebody else, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to a Better You program with Anthony McFarland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.